You know, we've done a number of NAMM shows. We go to these music kind of conventions for dealers from all over the world, and I demo the amps for them, let them play, you know, point out features, twiddle the knobs, and it's funny, you can see when the player just kind of relaxes. You'll just kind of notice a drop of the shoulder, and you're like, ah, that's the one they like the most. Because there's such a feel to a great tube amp. In other words, the way it interacts with your playing. And that's, I think, the reason why hopefully they never go out of fashion, but people still really are attracted to simple designs and tube amps because they have that interaction. But you can see it, like when I go through amp after amp, you'll see the person just kind of relax. And you know, oh, I bet you like that one the most. And you're like, yeah.
Hi everybody, welcome to Willie's Guitars. Today we have a guest, Steve Carr.
Hello, thanks. It's really exciting to be here. If you've never been to Willie's, you have to come and see all these amazing vintage and new guitars, and of course new amps.
Thanks, pal.
I gave this to him earlier. All right, I'll take it.
I was just talking about the difference here between two models that we have that are kind of similar, and Steve and I were talking that it's a little like Mexican food. Some have beans, some have guacamole, but on these two amplifiers, we have a Skylark. What's the wattage on a Skylark?
12 watts.
12 watts.
12 watts, and it has a built-in attenuator, so you can turn on that attenuator. When the toggle's back, it's out of the circuit, but when it's on, you can go from 1.2, basically a tenth of the 12, down to 0. And 1.2 may sound, in your mind, quiet, but 1.2 watts is actually pretty loud at home or at studio.
You understand this, you turn this on, no master. And then you can turn it on or off. Yeah, and kind of treat it like a master, but it is a power attenuator in here. And
yeah, the purpose or the intent of that is so that your amplifier, this amplifier, is always making its full 12 watts. And this is a volume control between the amp and the speaker. So if you want to get power tube distortion, or even if you want to keep it fairly clean, because this is a fairly clean amp, it's clean in a kind of classic Fendery way. If you wanted to turn it up to get thicker clean sounds, a little hair on it, you can engage the attenuator and keep it at a level that's enjoyable at home.
And then the other thing is
12 watts is plenty of watts to do a gig with too, and it's ideal for playing at home or in the studio. Now, in comparison,
Not convinced yet?
we have the Sportsman. And the wattage on the Sportsman is?
Well, we call it 16, but that's a clean 16. It probably tops out at just under 20.
So a little more wattage on this. They both have reverb. What's the tonal difference between these two amps?
Well, you know, with these two, there's a strong blackface Fender heritage. This amp has they both have some Princeton reverb vibe to them. This one's got almost a little bit of a Tweed Deluxe, in a way, mixed into it. Not quite as woolly as that, but if you can think of the way the power section of a Tweed amp can get a little barky, it's a little, stouter in a kind of a bulldog way. This amp is that. It has a slightly darker character, more forward presentation. You still have a full set of tone controls, so you can really tailor this. And then this has basically a master volume. We call it a headroom control for fun, and similar to in a way similar to the attenuator. You can turn this down to get thicker, clean sounds, and some distortion when you really crank it, particularly with a humbucker. But this is more of a traditional master where it's in the preamp, not after the power tubes here.
So the Skylark is 12 watts. The Sportsman is 16 watts, 18 watts, maybe 20 watts, depending on how you're rating it. We'll say one last thing about cabinet construction, and this is what makes it for a lot of people, is you use lightweight pine cabinets.
Yeah, that's right. We're one of the few builders that does everything in-house. So we make the cabinets. These are dovetailed corners, if you could see them. If you go to our site, you can see them.
That they're not put together side to side like this. They're actually dovetailed, so that adds strength to your corners.
A huge amount of strength, plus keeps the cabinet square. So this is solid pine that is locally sourced. It comes from about 35 minutes away from us, and it's kiln dried, but it's not finished till we order it. So in other words, it's rough boards, and then they plane it when we order, which is great. It's a wonderful thing. So if I may,
yes,
the solid pine. The reason why we do this, when I started out, I had a blackface deluxe that I loved. And one of the things those early Fenders had was a solid pine cabinet. And I found that that's a lot of the sound. But the solid pine cabinet is a lot of the warmth and also the projection, the snap of the sound, at least in my opinion. And that's why we do solid pine cabinets. That coupled with floating baffle boards, the old deluxe, the baffle board that held the speaker was only connected on the two sides, so it could move top and the bottom. And that, in a way, was a little bit like an acoustic guitar top, so it resonated with the speaker. And you just get more dimension, really.
Your speaker goes back and forth like this. The baffle board actually helps move with the speaker a little bit to add more dimension. So there we go. Yeah, yeah, you can hear it. The solid pine reduces weight and adds tone. We love Carr amps. The thing about them is resale. Resale is tremendous on them. We'd love to have your Carr amplifier back in, but they never come around. But again,
that's a good point.
Here at Willie's,
I don't think
with
about
Steve
those
Carr,
things.
he doesn't think about it, but we do, and you should too. You all come in and try these out.
Thanks.
See you next time.